really love that green shade and the way that it pairs with that purple. It's so pretty. Hey everybody, it's Jenny, and today I have the Ohii Beauty palettes from the new Ohii Beauty collection that's sold at Urban Outfitters. Urban Outfitters came out with 2 of these palettes. There is the Magic Hour palette, which is a cool toned palette, and the Treasure palette, which is more of a warm tone palette. The cool tone palette looks like this inside. The shadows in here are a mixture of shimmers as well as satins. There aren't any pure mattes in this particular palette. And the Treasure palette has 3 mattes in here, one that is a satin, some that are more of a shimmer, and the rest are metallic. For today's video, I will be playing with this cool tone palette. If you are interested in seeing me do the warm tone Treasure palette, go ahead and leave a comment down below and I'll do that one for you as well. Let's move you in closer and get started on a first impression of the Magic Hour palette. Since the Magic Hour palette doesn't have any mattes in it and only one satin color that I'm thinking of using in the crease, I'm going to use my Pinky Rose Runway palette to pull some of the matte colors in here to build up my crease. I'm taking this color over here and applying it into my crease. Now I'm going to apply Stargaze into the crease and see how that works, even though I know it's a satin. I think that the shadow blended pretty well with the Pinky Rose shadow. Otherwise, I'm neither here nor there. I'm kind of indifferent about it. It did what I needed it to do. So let's go and play with some of the prettier shades in this palette. The next shade I'm going in with is Nectar. This shade looks super pretty in the pan. Let's see if it actually looks just as pretty on the eyes. It's a little subtle. I'm going to go over that again. So that shade wasn't what I was expecting, but it is pretty. I'm just gonna have to rethink where I was going with this look. I've decided to apply Amethyst all over the lid. That's a very pretty pastel purple. I'm actually surprised at how pretty that purple looks. I was not expecting it to be that pretty. I really wasn't. I was expecting that I would have to use some setting spray based on the way it looked on the brush, but I definitely want to go over it again. Just, it's pretty. It's very pretty. I'm going to clean up the blending on the crease, do the rest of my makeup, and come back to do the lower lash line and the inner corner. For the lower lash line, I'm going in with Tiger's Eye for the outer and Peridot for the inner portion. And then for the inner corner, I will be going in with Pixie. In the pan, Tiger's Eye looked a little bit more like a duochrome, but I'm not seeing any sort of duochromatic effect at this time. I'm hoping adding a little bit of this light green shade will bring out the greens in the Tiger's Eye shade. I really love that green shade and the way that it pairs with that purple. It's so pretty. Pixie is definitely one of those shadows that's prettier once you apply it than it is in the pan. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but it has in person this really pretty baby pink, frosted pink look. And all of the shades have that really pretty frosted look to them. Now that I've tried all but 4 of these shades, it's time for some brush swatches and my final thoughts. The first shade in the palette is Pixie. Next to that is the shade Stardust. Then we have the shade Peridot. I'm gonna go over that shade just one more time. I really love the way that shade looks once you intensify it. Oh man. Then we have the shade Moonlight. Again, I'm gonna go over this shade one more time because these shades, you sort of need to apply them a few times. This is Agate. Agate doesn't really show up so well on my skin. Let's see if it looks better when we build it up. Here we have the shade Amethyst. This is again one of those shades that looked better when I applied it on the lid. So I'm going to go over that one more time. Here we have the shade Tiger's Eye. Next to that is Nectar. This was the shade I had to build up on my lid. Then we have Stargaze. The shade works if you're blending it into the crease, but as you can see, it's not the most pigmented satin shade. And finally, we have Siren. Again, it's not the most pigmented gray color, but it does have a nice little sheen to it. The frosted colors are really the colors that stand out in this palette. And there we have it, all the colors in the palette. I'm actually rather impressed with this palette considering I didn't have any preconceived notions about it. It is a rather new brand and it's part of Urban Outfitters, but it's actually quite nice. I did have to dig in a little harder on the shadows, but once I did that, the shimmer shadows applied nicely. The satin shade did blend rather well with my Pinky Rose palette, and I don't have anything terrible to say about it. I honestly don't. I think that the colors are gorgeous. They're stunning, and I will definitely be using this quite a few times and maybe even hitting pan on it because some of these shades are, I don't know how else to put it other than they are shadows that I would use on their own and mix them with other palettes that I own as well. Happen to be browsing the Urban Outfitters website or happen to stumble across one of their stores and find yourself in there for whatever reason, definitely check these out. Until next time.